Hello, James Moffat here with a short reel for our Front Porch Discussions YouTube channel. We're currently working on a bi-weekly schedule that we will use for all three of us to get online and record content on a regular basis. That will be starting on April 25th, which is a Saturday. The topic this evening is social media is not real life. It's a fun topic. So before I get into the pre-social media age and the post-social media age, I just want to talk to you for a moment. From my memory, in 1976 to 1980, years of 1976 to 1980, I was in high school, uh, and it was Ford High School in Quinlan, Texas. And Quinlan, Texas is a small rural high school in the Dallas-Fort Worth area out by Lake Tawakoni, and it's located between Terrell, Texas and Greenville, Texas. Greenville, Texas is the geographical hub of Northeast Texas. So I didn't have access to computers or the internet when I was in high school. And obviously, I didn't have access to it when I was in grade school either. So, what did we do for fun? I went out in the backyard and I played basketball. Now, in 1969, trip down memory lane here, so just bear with me. In 1969, my father, my adopted father, who was in the Army for 26 years as a drill instructor, brought his wife and his two children, me and my sister Tanya, back to Quinlan, Texas, where he was born and raised. They rented a house in 1969 from somebody, I don't know who, some lady. And then they purchased a parcel of land right next door to that house. It was a frame wooden house. And I think it was 2.5 lots, however big 2.5 lots is. It was 2.5 lots, and they built a 3-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, brick home on those 2 lots, fenced it in, yada, yada, yada. So my dad he had a vegetable garden in the backyard, which stretched from one end to the other, about 75% of it. So part of my entertainment was to go weed eat in the garden and to run off blue jays and mockingbirds with a BB gun. I also was able to go play basketball because he bought or obtained a telephone pole, and he dug a hole in the backyard and on the right side of the backyard, and he buried it and put a basketball hoop. Well, so I would go outside and shoot hoops in the middle of the day. And I was, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years old during that time. I graduated in May of 1980, and I was 18 at the time. So anyway, yeah, my there was no social media, and if I wanted to have fun, it was either listening to my stereo in my room, in my bedroom, reading, which I did a lot of reading, or watching TV if my parents allowed me to. Back then, I had to ask my parents for permission to watch TV. We'd eat supper, we'd get our chores done. If my homework was done, I always had to show my homework to my mom and dad to prove to them that it was done. And then I had to ask permission to watch TV. And if they said yes, then I got to sit down on the floor in front of them and watch TV on the Zenith color television, which was a piece of furniture that was probably weighed about 150 pounds. Took two grown men to pick that thing up and move it around. And back then, there was no such thing as cable TV either. There were UHF, VHF, and there was a mechanical tuner that you had to go clickety 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 click and turn from channel 3 to channel 4 to channel 5, channel 6. And there were only like 3 or 4 channels, maybe 5 channels if you counted what was on UHF and VHF. And you either had rabbit ear antennas or you had a big antenna on top of the house that was on a pole or on a tower, like my dad and I buried in the front yard next to the garage. Anyhow, so yeah, riding my bicycle up and down the street, reading hoops, reading books, listening to my stereo. What else did we do? We played board games at night. We played checkers, chess, Battle. Remember Battle? Yeah, I'm predating myself here. So maybe any of you baby boomers that are watching this video, Battle was a board game that was an octagon, and it had a big bubble in the middle, and there was dice in the middle of that bubble, and you click down, you pop that bubble, and it give you a number, and everybody had their section on the board. It was like a wheel, if you can imagine, and it had you had 4 or 5 round pegs, and you would move your round pegs clockwise across around the board. Now, if somebody's piece was in that slot where you, like if you popped a 6 and you moved 6 times and somebody's piece was in that spot, you'd pull it out and throw it back to them, and you were there. So whoever managed to get all their pieces around the board back into their slots won the game. It was loads of fun. I don't think Trivial Pursuit was around back then. But anyway, yeah, we played card games, we played checkers, chess, Monopoly. I can't forget Monopoly. Monopoly's still around to today. It's survived the test of time, I guess you could say. But anyway, let's get back to the topic of this evening. It says social media is not real life. Well, what do you mean? Well, I would contend to say, or I'm just going to make a bold statement and say, social media is not real life. We'll let that sink in for a second. Social media is not real life. What is social media? Well, social media platforms such as Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok, all of those. I've missed about 6 or 7 of them. There's more out there than that, and I'm sure you're thinking about those. But I would say that social media might be a reflection of real life, or it might be our presentation of what our real life might be. In other words, sometimes people get depressed when they're on Facebook or Instagram or any of these social media platforms, and they see the persona of people on their news feeds looking their best, acting their best, dressed up their best, going on vacations, and doing all kinds of fun things, positive things. In other words, they're projecting to us what they want us to believe is who they are. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's not real life. Sure, some of the, like if you go on vacation and you post vacation pictures and stuff like that, those things are real. You know, pictures of yourself, you're doing selfies, taking pictures of your friends, you're at work, you're taking pictures at work, you're going out to eat and you take selfies of food and stuff like that. Sure, that is real life. Those are real life, or those are depictions or portraits of things that are going on in your life at that time, if you will. But what you see on social media as a whole, that's not real life. That's something that's fabricated. That's something that's projected out to the world to be presented as real life when it's really not. In other words, let's say we took a timeline, or let's just say we drew around like a clock, and or let's say we recorded how much time we spend on social media. Now, television is not social media, but you can watch YouTube on television, which is a social media platform. And I think I've seen statistics where young people, or we'll just say people in general, spend 4 to 6 hours a day on TV. It's assuming you're watching YouTube videos. 4 to 6 hours a day is a lot of time. And so what is that? That's let's say 70% of your life, or 70% of your 24-hour day is out there that nobody sees what's going on. In other words, you spend 30% of your day watching YouTube videos, talking on Snapchat, you're on TikTok sharing videos, you're singing, you're dancing, you're showing off your clothes, whatever you're doing on social media. Okay. That's only 30%. If you're on it for 4 to 6 hours a day, okay, I'm not real good at math. I'm going to say 30% of your 24-hour period. So what happens during the other 70% of your day? That is real life. The other stuff that's going on during the other 70% of your day, that's real life. That's you getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, eating breakfast, going for a jog, going to work, going to school, going out into the community as a person, doing whatever you do. Well, on social media, how often do you see people talking about, well, I was depressed today, or I'm suffering from depression, or I lost somebody to cancer, or my kid fell down and broke his arm and I had to go to the emergency room. Now, sure, those are events that happen in real life. And sometimes we share those events like on your Facebook feed or whatever. Okay. So we do share snippets of time on social media. We share small slices of time and events that happen to us and our family members on social media, whether it be Instagram, whether it be Facebook, whether it be TikTok, whether it be on X, Twitter, used to be Twitter. So those real life events did happen, and you're sharing those real life events on social media. But I guess what I'm saying is that when I say social media is not real life, it's not the totality of who we are as humans. I'm James Moffat, and you don't know anything about me than what I allow you to see on social media. Now, I'm out there. I've been on social media for a while. I couldn't erase my digital footprints if I wanted to. Even if I had $1 million and could pay somebody, the digital footprints are so prevalent and deep and run back so far back that nobody could delete those things, right? So you Google James Moffitt, Goose Creek, South Carolina, and you'll get a list of things. You'll see all of the things that I'm involved in. You'll see that I've been involved in I'm a Second Amendment activist. I'm involved. I've got YouTube channels about parenting adult children. I've got a YouTube channel called Liberty and Gun Rights Podcast. No, I'm sorry, YouTube channel. I've got a parenting adult children YouTube channel, and then I have 3 podcasts. So you can find things about James Moffitt. You can find things about me on the internet. However, that's not the full picture of who I am. That's not my full life. That is my persona that I am projecting out to the world and telling the world, these are the things I believe in. These are the things that I think. These are the things that I value. This is what I stand for. But you don't see the dark moments. You don't see any of the depression. You don't see crying. You don't see laughter. You don't see any deep dark moments that I don't share or you don't share on the internet. In other words, we have real life, IRL, who we are in real life, and then we have our social media personas that we project to the world. And I would say that sometimes those are 2 different people. For some people, it's 2 different people. Let me give you some context. I went to this church, not going to name it, here in Goose Creek, and I was involved in the youth ministry. Now, it was a small church, right? And we had some youth, and one of the youth had a Facebook page. Or not a page, she had a Facebook persona, whatever. She had her news feed, her Facebook news feed. And I was reading some of the stuff on her news feed. I followed her on Facebook. We were friends, and I was reading some of her Facebook stuff. And I was like, wow, this young lady goes to church, but she acts like this on social media. And she says these things on social media. And she projects a totally different image of who she is, but she's a totally different person when she's at church. And we had a conversation about that. And you know what she told me? She said, I'm a completely different person when I'm outside of church. And that was the truth. She was, at that time, a completely different person in real life. So that's the context. That's the kind of context I want you to get, is that you can have your persona or your pseudonym of who you are online, but in real life can be something completely opposite. So what does that mean? That means that we can project whatever we want to. Now with AI, we can use our voice, and AI can do voiceovers, and we can just tell it what to say, and it can talk like us, look like us, but it's not even us. It's artificial intelligence talking to you. It's not even there are people talking to AI bots, having conversations with AI bots on their telephones, on the computer, online, having real conversations about their everyday life with AI. It's not a real person. They're just talking to technology, artificial intelligence, and telling them about their day. And a lot of that's going on, especially with our youth, especially with young people, with teenagers, but it's even adults too. Anyway, social media is not real life. And I would like for y'all to comment on this video and tell me what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? You kind of agree with me? Whatever. Just tell me what you think. I want this to be a short little fun reel. See, I'm already into 15 minutes, so it's not going to be that short. So let's talk about social media. After 1980, there was this thing called bulletin board systems, or BBSs. You had to have a computer. Ran several bulletin board systems back in the 1980. After I got out of high school, moved to Terrell, Texas. Then I moved to Houston, Texas. And I had 286, 386 computers, 8088 processors, 8086 processors, which 8086, then 8088, and then 286, 386. That's how the architecture or the computer central processing units moved up in that day and age. Our smartphones, our smartphones have more power in them than the technology that sent men to the moon. So anyway, back then they had bulletin board systems, and you literally would have a modem in your computer, thing that squalled and made all sorts of noise, and you'd plug your telephone line into it. It would squall and it would connect, It would download messages from a bulletin. You'd connect to a bulletin board system. We would have lists of bulletin board systems, and it would say the bulletin board system name, the topics, or what theme it was, or whatever, and then its phone number. And you plugged in your the phone number for that bulletin board system into a dialer app, and it would dial out. And you'd connect, and it had the bulletin board system had you could download files, you could communicate and talk on discussion boards, do all sorts of stuff. So people dialed in with a modem and posted messages, files, and announcements. Entire communities formed around local BBS numbers. The first BBS launched in 1970, BBS in Chicago. By 1980, BBS culture was exploding amongst hobbyists. I was one of them. Usenet launched in 1980. This is the true ancestor of Reddit, forums, and even Twitter threads, created by Duke University students, organized into news groups where people posted messages publicly, text only, but global. CompuServe was 1970 to 1980 era for email, forums, chat, and file sharing, expensive, slow, and mostly used by professionals, but it had real online communities. ARPANET, 1969 to 1980. Now, this is back when I was in grade school and high school. This was the early internet. Email existed. Only universities, government, and research institutions had access. Not public, but socially active amongst those who used it. AOL was founded in 1983 and launched in 1985. CB radio culture, not digital, but socially similar. Channel-based communications, handles, usernames, real-life conversation. In many ways, it functioned like voice-based social media before the internet. Breaker 19. Channel 19 was the main channel that everybody hopped on. My parents had a CB base station because my dad was a TV man and he was into, that technology and, the 70s and 80s. And he repaired TV sets for all of the surrounding communities. That's how he paid the bills, put food on the table for us kids. And anyway, he had a base station. We had a tower that was in the ground next to, like I said earlier, next to the garage. And they were called beams. There were 3 beams up and down. I don't know how big they were or whatever, but he had a rotor that he could sit in the house and turn the beams whichever way he wanted to pick up a good signal or what have you. But all of us had CB handles. I think mine was Skylark or something silly like that. And I forget what my mom and dad's handles were, but oh yeah, they had big conversations, and families in Quinlan, Texas would get on the CB and chat for all hours of the day and night. But anyway, what did not exist in 1980? None of these existed yet. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter or X, MySpace, AOL chat rooms. That happened in 1990. Forums as we know them today, blogs, mid 1990s. Even the World Wide Web didn't exist until 1991. Now, if you remember back with AOL, you had to have a modem in your computer to use it. You had to dial up AOL and connect. And you know what you heard when you connected to AOL? It said, "You've got mail." If you had mail, oh my gosh, I remember when I first got on AOL, I could not wait to get my first piece of email. And being a baby boomer, I can go back and remember the You've Got Mail movie with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. Do you remember that? If you remember that, you're as old as I am. You've Got Mail. Katie and I watched that movie again for the millionth time, I think, just the other night. It is such a cute movie. All right. So, what counted as social media in 1980? If we define social media as a digital place where people gather, post messages, and interact, then the 1980 list is BBS Systems, Usenet, launched the same year you graduated, me, CompuServe forums, early email communities on ARPANET. MySpace launched in August of 2003, quickly became the first social network to reach massive global popularity. It was created by Tom Anderson and Chris DeWolf, employees at eUniverse, later Intermix Media. Why it mattered. It exploded in popularity from 2005 to 2008, becoming the largest social network in the world during that period. It was especially influential in music culture, giving artists a platform to share songs and build fan bases long before Spotify or TikTok existed. AOL was founded in 1983 and launched in 1985. For those of you that are Gen X or Gen Z, you're familiar with the following social media abbreviations. YOLO is You Only Live Once. IKR is I Know Right. I Know Right. IRL is in real life. LOL is laughing out loud. BRB is be right back. BTW is by the way. IDK, I don't know. IMO is in my opinion, or IMHO is in my humble opinion. TBH is to be honest. ICYMI. I learned this one today, in case you missed it. FYI, for your information. OMG equals oh my God or oh my gosh. TTL is talk to you later. Now, here are some texting and messaging abbreviations. I know most of you know these. DM equals direct message. PM equals private message. MK, let me know. I didn't know that one. MK is let me know. OMW is on my way. TMI is too much information. RN equals right now. When I say RN, I'm thinking about a nurse, but apparently it's right now. Tell me right now. ASAP, as soon as possible. JK equals just kidding. SMH, shaking my head or smacking my head. Social media platform slang. IG, Instagram, FB equals Facebook, YT equals YouTube, TT equals TikTok, X is formerly Twitter, FYP equals for your page, Twitter, OOTD, outfit for the day. I didn't know that one. GRWM, get ready with me. I didn't know that one. TBT, Throwback Thursday. I think I've heard of that one. Engagement and content terms. CTA is call to action. Those of us that are podcasters, we know what that means. CTR, click-through rate. SEO, search engine optimization. UGC, user-generated content. ROI, return on investment. KPIs, key performance indicators. VOD, video on demand. IRL, in real life. Community and comment section slang. OP, original poster. AMA, ask me anything. I didn't know any of these, I don't think. FTW is for the win. FW, not safe for work. W is win. L is loss. FR is for real. Cap, no cap. Lie or no lie. I didn't know that one. Bet, agreement, or confirmation. There are many more. This is just a basic list. And I'm sure some of you could probably school me on some of the more up-to-date slang. Well, anyway, I've been on this thing prattling for 24 minutes and 35 seconds. And so I'm going to draw this to a close and say, please share. Well, first thing I want to say is thank you for the privilege of your time. The second thing I want to say is please share with your friends, family, relatives. After you stop laughing at me, share with everybody else so everybody can find the Front Porch Discussions YouTube channel. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.